Alright, now this type of bird is a bird that lives in very large flocks out in the wild. He's a type of parrot that you can find living down in Australia. He's a very specific type of parrot. He's called a cockatoo, but ours specifically is called a sulfur-crested cockatoo. But we just call him Coconut, and he is definitely a fan favorite around here. Now these birds, like I said, live in very large flocks. So when you live in such a large flock, you need a good way to communicate with all those other birds that you live with. And while a lot of parrots are known for their cool vocalizations or even their sound copying abilities, cockatoos are not the best at copying lots of different sounds. In fact, Coconut here is about 16 years old, and in all of those years, he's only learned how to copy a couple of different sounds, but we'll see if I'll show those off for you today. The first one he can copy is he can just say hi to everybody. So can you say, hi, Coconut? Not too bad, kind of squeaky. He can also ask everybody, how are you? Yeah, that's all right. This last one, though, is probably the hardest to understand. So I'm going to ask him what he is, and if everything goes according to plan, he's supposed to respond with good boy. So we'll see how this goes. What are you? Something kind of like that, yeah. Not so good at the sound copying. But instead of doing impressive things with their voice to communicate, cockatoos will do crazy things. How about crazy things? Crazy things with their body in order to communicate with all the other members of their flock. So lots of big body movements. Lots of big body movements are a really great way for these birds to communicate a message to all of the other members of their flock. Now, like I said, these birds live in very large flocks, so sometimes big, impressive body language, something kind of like that. That can be a much better way to communicate with all those other birds that you live with. Now, when I'm talking about lots of different birds living together, I'm not talking about 20 birds, not even 200 birds. I'm talking about 2,000 cockatoos, all living in the same place at the same time. Now, we don't have 2,000 cockatoos to show you. We just have Coconut, but I think it'd be pretty fun to send him flying out there with you. What do you guys think? Should we send him out there with you? Okay, we're going to start with you guys right in front. Here he comes. All right, I think that'd be pretty fun, right? Yeah, I think so. We're going to go right in front of you guys here. Here he comes. Nice flights from Coconut. Well, here in Minnesota, you guys, we might think it would be pretty fun to see 2,000 of these birds coming our way, but there are some people, especially the farmers that live down in Australia, that are not very excited to see these birds coming into their fields. Because a big flock of cockatoos will come into a farmer's field and they will eat all of the crops that the farmers have worked very hard to plant. And on the screens behind me, that's a farmer in his truck trying to drive through his field. He's trying to get all those birds to leave his field alone. What's probably going to happen is they'll just fly right around behind the truck and start all over again. So it can be pretty tough to make a living when you're a farmer living down in Australia with all of those cockatoos. And you know, you guys probably know this, but Australia has kind of a neat nickname. It's called the Land Down Under. Couple chuckles, I appreciate that. I know that was a really bad joke, so thank you for the few laughs, I appreciate it. Well, one more thing from Coconut before he heads backstage. One more way he's going to communicate with all of you. He's just going to wave goodbye. How about a wave to everybody? Nice job, right over there. Awesome. This is Coconut. He's our sulfur-crested cockatoo. See you later, Coconut. Even in those extreme environments. So we have a bird to show you right now. He's a type of hunting bird. He's a bird you can find living down in the desert. He's a type of hawk. He's called a Harris hawk. He's coming from right around the corner. Now again, this is called a Harris hawk. And you can see these birds down. You can see them here in the United States if you go down to the desert southwest. America as well. We're going to get another low flight. Now when you live in the desert, you need to be pretty creative and also pretty clever when it comes to finding food and finding shelter, because both of those things can be pretty tough to come by. Well, since trees are pretty scarce in the desert, a Harris hawk will instead build their their nest on top of a cactus instead of in a tree. And typically Harris hawks will eat things like small mammals, small reptiles, but they are very intelligent birds. And they have figured out that if they work together in family groups, they can work together to take down much larger prey than if they were hunting all on their own. So that means a little bird like this, working with this family, could take down something as large as a 10 to 15 pound jackrabbit, which is a pretty awesome meal in the desert when food is hard to find. It's time for him to go. He's gonna head right back around the corner where he came from on his long snoot. That's our Harris hawk. Thank you very much. So typically, all of those different raptors out there, hunting birds, they like to eat rodents, especially those hawks. They really like to eat rodents. That helps us out a whole lot as people because we consider rodents to be kind of a pest. So can you guys even imagine for a second what the world would look like without all those hunting birds? What would you see everywhere? Yeah, mice and rats, and we'd see rodents running everywhere if we didn't have those hunting birds helping to control those populations. But we just had a hawk out here, so you're not going to see any rodents anywhere on stage. I promise you that. They were climbing on the rock because I said you weren't going to see any mice. Okay, they're climbing on the rock and going through the hole. There's nothing back here though, you guys. But it sounds like lots of people saw that, so maybe we should just take a vote here. Up the stairs a little, we'll go for a little walk up here. So we got a nice big flight from this bird. I think, how about right here, right back here.
Are you ready up there? Okay, here he comes. Wow, give Abigail a great big hand. She's doing an awesome job. And this really is what it's all about. Just introducing the next generation to an endangered species. Once we start to learn more about some of these animals and we will start to care about them, then we'll know what we can to make sure birds like this little green cheek Amazon are going to be around for a very long time. Thanks a lot, Abigail. You did an awesome job.
Yeah, very beautiful girl, that's for sure. Well, this again is called a Lady Ross's Turako, and you can find these birds living in the tropical rainforest regions in the dense forests of Central Africa. And while they are good flyers, they tend to get where they're going much better by using rather than to fly through them. But it's when they do fly, that's when you get to see that bright flash of red under her wings. Now that red is unique to the Turako. She's also got it on the top of her head, kind of in a little red mohawk. That red is unique to the Turakos, and you cannot find that specific shade of red anywhere else on the natural world. It's only to other birds, especially potential mates. So bright colors are to illustrate that this beautiful girl has access to lots of good food sources. She's able to take care of herself very well, and she's also able to avoid predators while still looking as beautiful and as showy as she is. So watch for that flash of red one more time. It's about time for her to go. She's gonna head back to the vine. Beautiful bird, I think. That's a Lady Ross's Turako. Okay, these are birds that are native to Brazil. There they are.
They're not wasting any time at all. Well, thanks for volunteering, Sammy, and getting a chance again to see some of these birds close up. They're called golden conures, and there are only about 1,000 to 2,000 golden conures left in the wild. They're only found in Brazil and South America. And so that's kind of why we have them here, just to raise some awareness about some of these lesser known endangered species. So of course, if you don't know something exists, it's hard to help save it. But as you learn more about some of these animals, then you will start to care about them, and you'll do whatever you can to make sure that birds like this beautiful golden conures are going to be around for a very long time. Thanks again to our volunteer, Sammy.
In the world. Now because of that, he is also the biggest bird and the lowest flying bird that we have in our show. So I'm going to let you know a little bit about where he's coming from before we get started. He's going to be starting from the back, right up there. He's going to be making a very low fly. He's not quite done either. He is going to be heading towards the back to that lit up perch in the back as soon as he is good and ready. Well, as you guys are looking at him sitting up on stage here, you can see the color and the pattern on his feathers give him excellent camouflage for blending in with the forested environment where he lives. If he was sitting high up in a tree, you've probably not seen him at all. And I think he's getting about ready to head to the back. There he goes. Down to stage.
Keep your hands down, Ryan.
Well, owls have incredibly soft feathers that help them to be able to fly without making a sound. They also have very large eyes that help them to be able to see when it's much darker outside. They also have incredible hearing. So some species of owls can sit high up in a tree. They can listen for the little footsteps of a mouse running on the ground. Even if that mouse is underneath a foot of snow, they can dive down and catch that mouse without ever having seen it. So when you put together their camouflage, their eyesight, their hearing, and of course, their soft feathers for silent flights, we think it makes owls some of the best adapted hunting animals on this planet. But as graceful as they are in the air, they're maybe not quite as graceful on the ground. There he goes. The hyacinth macaw. Now, hyacinth macaws are found living down in South America, mostly in Brazil, but also in small regions of Bolivia and Paraguay as well. And what you're looking at on the screens behind me, those are wild hyacinth macaws living in a reserve down in Brazil. And they're living and thriving in that reserve. Unfortunately though, that was not always the case. Because poachers used to go into the nests of the hyacinth macaws, they would take the chicks illegally out of the nest and sell them on the black market for the pet trade industry. And unfortunately, poaching, as well as habitat destruction, have been some major contributing factors that have led to the decline of the hyacinth macaw populations. However, there is good news that we can follow that up with. Because for over 10 years now, the Minnesota Zoo has been involved with sending money down to this reserve in Brazil. And that money is going to pay for people to patrol the nesting sites of these birds. So we're making sure that the hyacinth macaw chicks are staying in the nests and the poachers are staying out of the nests, exactly where we think they belong. And since the Minnesota Zoo's involvement with this project, the population of the hyacinth macaws, at least in this reserve in Brazil, have been on the rise for the first time in a very long time. And that is with thanks to all of you. Just by having fun with us here at the zoo today, you really are making a big difference in the lives of endangered species all over the world. And we do appreciate all of your support. Well, I hope you guys would agree this is a pretty incredible animal, and as long as we're willing to continue to work together to help support endangered species, we will never have to see an amazing bird like this hyacinth macaw disappear from out in the wild. Well, no doubt about it, you guys, we live on an amazing planet, and we share this planet with some pretty incredible creatures. Like the hyacinth macaw and also like these golden conures. And it really is up to all of us to make sure that we continue to see incredible animals living around us for many years to come. I want to thank all of you so much for spending part of your day with us here at the Bird Show. If you guys have any questions or if you'd like to just chat for a bit, you can meet me right down in front of the stage, right in front of these barriers here. Otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful day at the Minnesota Zoo. Thank you very much, everybody.
I did not. I think it was fishy title.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it goes in the top this time. Up here. There you go. Get in there. Where's the otter? You think they're hiding? It's probably too cold. Did it work or not? Here's another one. Alright, push hard. Oh, you're doing a good job. I'm sorry. Good job. Your turn. Alright, ready? Push really hard. Alright, let's see what it has. Perfect. Jack, can you see the coyotes?